so long thinking I had to fight this by myself. But I can stand here today because y'all stood with me. Because you stood with me.
We got you. Always.
That's right, man.
I ain't alone anymore.
No, you're not. Good. Stretch. Good.
Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to another episode here on the Hearts of Men podcast. I am the Uncle Junior, also known as the consistency coach. I'm joined by my cool, smooth brothers over here. Ladies and gentlemen, son of Timothy, the available man. It's not what you think, but he is available, ladies and gentlemen. For what availability means to him. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, right beside us, the mindset coach, the man, the visionary behind all of this stuff over here, Dr. Dwayne Dwyer, certified speaker and coach, the mindset coach. Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing this evening? Gentlemen, what is going on? What's up? How y'all doing? How was the week?
It wasn't a bad week. I can't complain. Some hiccups, some successes. So you take your wins and your losses, and you keep on pushing. But the highlight is it ends on a Friday. Get to highlight my boys here live in these YouTube streets. So it's a good week after all.
All right.
Yeah, I kind of second that, man. Week was good. I had no issues. Just had a lot of moving parts. But like Gaddy said, man, it's Friday. I mean, we're here. The highlight of my week being able to be on camera with you guys, and as always, to share in conversation with the livest comment section and social media. So I'm good, man. Like you said, in these YouTube streets.
Come on, YouTube streets. I like that, man. I'm definitely excited and happy to be here this Friday afternoon, Friday evening as well. It's hot out there. I'm in and out of it. I ain't stuck in it all day long, so shout out to all those blue collar fellas out there that's, plumbing and ACing it up, up under them houses and stuff like that. I know I got a couple of dudes that I know that tap in and tune in sometime, and some of them out there in that heat. So shout out to the brothers, because I don't want to have nothing to do with it. I thought about it a couple years ago. I was like, I'm just going to go to HVAC school. But then my AC went out, and dude was upstairs, and he came out of that attic, and he was sweating. He talking about he had to go up underneath the house and stuff. And I was like, bro, it's hot out there. So shout out to all of them dudes and people workers who out there dealing with that heat and humidity, especially. I don't know what it's like y'all, but here in North Carolina, it's kind of hot right now. So, and humid. So,
I live in a hot and humid state. That's all I'm saying.
In Georgia, Texas, whew.
I'm about to say, I live in Texas. I don't want to hear it.
You just got hot. You don't have humid.
Yeah, he don't have the humid. Yeah.
We've had some
Also, don't want to forget and want to welcome the chat. We all definitely appreciate all y'all for tuning in. We understand that it's Friday evening. Some of y'all have had long weeks, but you guys still decided to tune in and chop it up with us this evening. So feel free to be part of the conversation, ask a question, be part of the chat. With that being said, welcome Miss Robin Brower, Atlas Keys to Key Reality. I'm sorry. Shell, hey babe, thank you for joining us. And anybody else that I may have missed on any other platform, I see Lisa Keys, I see His Divine Appointment, I see Crystal Everett, I see Terry PE8V. I wonder what that means. Who else? I might have gotten everybody. If I missed anybody, I apologize. His chosen one, I see you over there. Thank you for being here as well. And again, if I missed anybody, I apologize. Appreciate you for being here. And with that being said, gentlemen, before we get started, you have anything to say before I start off with this short monologue. All right, here we go. First, let me start tonight with a question. What happens when you can look at your life and say, I've provided everything, but at the same time, you feel like you're the one who was left with nothing? The bills were paid, the house was taken care of, the vacations happened, the kids had what they needed. You showed up when something needed to be handled. But somewhere along the way, something started feeling different. Maybe someone wanted more of your time, more attention, more conversation, more of you. And now you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I gave everything I had. So why do I feel abandoned? And that's where tonight's conversation gets interesting because providing and being present may not always mean the same thing. So it is possible to give someone everything and still leave something important missing out. So, gentlemen, let's talk about it. First thing we're going to do tonight, we have an opening question for the chat. And actually, before we do that, we're going to start with Lynn some definitions for tonight. So we got 3 definitions, gentlemen. Pick them apart, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know what you think about these. But these are some of the definitions going to start the base for our conversation. The first one is providing, giving or supplying something that contributes to another person's needs, wants, security, or well-being. Providing. All right, we got 2. All right, we rolling with it. The next one is presence, being physically, mentally, or emotionally available and engaged with someone or a situation.
I can go with this for now. I think as time progresses, we're probably going to learn that there's a little bit more to presence than just that, but I'm not against what that says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the more too.
Yeah, agree.
Next one is abandonment, the experience or perception of being left, neglected, unsupported, or emotionally disconnected from someone important. I don't know if I like perception. Something about the word perception right there.
I like
Because I
perception.
don't think abandonment necessarily have to be perception. I think you can have abandonment without perception. It can be just abandonment. But coach warming up the hands. What you got?
Is it? But I'm just like, is it a abandonment if it's not perceived? Because not and I'm just saying, not all things are extreme, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so what something you may say do to me often may feel like neglect to me. Like in this relationship here, we have this triune relationship. I feel neglected from my brother because he says it does something. You may say and do that same thing towards coach, and he doesn't feel that way. But that perception creates that mental barrier for me that feels neglected in this relationship. And so is that not worthy enough to be addressed because it doesn't make coach feel some sort of way, but it makes me? I'm just asking.
No, you're good. Let me kind of help fill in the blanks of what you're saying because I'm right there where you are. Bring up number 1 again. Any absence of this. I mean, I hate the bottom line of that easily, but yeah, any absence of this
Is abandonment.
Can be abandonment.
Can be abandonment. Okay, I like it. I'm roll with that. I like that. All right, here we go. This is for the chat and for us, gentlemen. First opening question of the night. When you hear the statement, I provided everything, so why do I feel abandoned? What does that statement mean to you?
Hey, I'm just gonna jump out there because
Yep. Dive on in.
if woe is me is a segment for me, like I'm not gonna lie. Y'all know when I do this, like y'all can't put a mic in front of me because I'm gonna be transparent. I don't know how to shut up. Like you can't tell me something that I should not say and then put a mic in front of me because if it's gonna help the people that I'm talking to, then I'm gonna say it. But this is my right now, real life, real time struggle. You know, the moment you sit back and you realize, like, hey, yo, these kids, because sometimes the things that frustrate me that they say and do, I'm like, yeah, they're starting to lose every essence of me as their being their father. All the things that I taught them, I instilled in them when we had 50-50 custody. You know what I mean? I can see it now. The longer we have this, she's primary custodial that I agreed to for the sake of somebody who's no longer here. But anyway, uh, you know, and I start, and now and it's like in reverse, like becoming the exact opposite of the character of who I fight so hard to try to make sure they become. I care more about who you become than what you become. You become a doctor, you're a terrible husband and father. I don't really care about your doctor. Congratulations, Doctor Nobody. Right? Like that's how I look at you. But if if you didn't make it, you didn't become a doctor, you became a CNA, right? But you're an amazing father, amazing wife, amazing mother, amazing husband. Like I care. You get what I'm saying? Like so when I see this statement and I'm looking back at at my kids and some of the things they do, they say, uh, it just starts getting frustrating. The fight gets frustrating because it's like the more you try to be involved in their life, the more you realize there's others who fighting to remove what your presence in their life. And it's like, so I've really pretty much pay you to keep them from me. That's what this is. I'm I'm paying you and I'm showing up for the things that they need and that you telling me they need this, they need this, they need this. All right. Uh and I pop up and I'm showing up and I'm trying to make sure we can make it happen. But I have no input, I have no say, I have no identity in their life as a parent. So that's how that look what that means to me. That's just in a nutshell, if that was a nutshell.
So I'm not disagreeing with anything Gaddy said before I respond, but I want you guys to kind of consider this because this is for me, especially now. I like to look at things from the lens of responsibility first, then accountability, right? So when I say I provided everything, my first notion is to consider the assumption of everything because I may not necessarily perceive I may not necessarily perceive what everything means to somebody else. I provided everything I thought that I could provide, everything I thought I was supposed to provide. That's initially. And then continuing, so why do I feel abandoned? That's the best question to ask. Why do you feel abandoned? Do you feel abandoned because of my perception of everything and because I perceived that I provided you with everything that should have been enough to make you stay? Then and I'm just using this as a rudimentary example, enough to make you stay or enough to appreciate what it is I'm doing. That's more of a better way of saying it. Now, let's consider the level of appreciation because this is a layered question in my mind. Does that person even know how or what appreciation really means? Right? Because I can still provide everything and do everything that I learned to do because I was raised up in a properly formatted and properly structured home. I've literally studied and done this and done that and done this and done that. I taught, so forth and so on. All of those things existed, and the level of appreciation, or at least appreciation at all, isn't there. Maybe the words exist, but maybe the deeds that go along with appreciation didn't exist. And I always say appreciation is what you show me, not so much as what you say. So when I look at this question, there's a multiple things to consider. My perception of everything, why I'm actually feeling abandoned, and then moving forward, what actually happened at that point when I started feeling abandoned. That we have an honest conversation so I can understand what everything looks like on the receiving end, and then you can understand what abandon feels like on this end.
And and if I can come back just on that everything part, because I like where coach and where the chat went with it, but So when I'm talking everything, provided everything, I don't see that as an absolute because I don't think anybody can provide everything. Because here's a reality: nobody's ever satisfied. So once you got everything, you want more. But I digress on that. But when I'm thinking everything, I'm thinking in the sense of everything that I can, or everything that I am capable of, or everything that I am required to provide. Like I've met one of those requirements. You know what I mean? I've given my all in a sense in the scenario. Then why do I feel like nothing? There's no residual, and that's pretty much what I think of when I hear abandoned. Like why is there no residual for everything that I've been asked to pour in?
You both you both mentioned everything, and kind of similar context about no one can provide everything, and that's exactly what I wrote down. And maybe some of that abandon, I mean, and maybe provide everything. Maybe I didn't provide the right leadership. As I was listening to what Gaddy was saying, I'll start like you said, we can't provide everything, but maybe I didn't provide the right things for that relationship. Maybe it was because I didn't have them. Maybe because I was ignorant and I didn't know what I was supposed to provide. Maybe I was looking at um the wrong definitions or the wrong instructions, or maybe I was interpreting the instructions wrong. Yeah, that's a big one too, interpreting the instructions wrong. So I think, yeah, definitely maybe it's something along the lines of not being able to provide the right things when it comes to those different things right there. Because what what are the right things though? Like what would be, well, we probably get into that later on. I'm gonna scroll down. So what I'm gonna do,
You want to go there?
we probably will. I'm assuming we will get there at some point doing the thing. But the first thing I want to do, we will go to the first question of the night. So what does providing mean to different people, and where do those definitions come from? Because you go in certain places and like this means to provide, and if you look at social media, sometimes good, bad, or indifferent, sometimes you look at people and they mean this means to provide. This means to buy. You got to buy this, you got to buy this, you got to spend money on this, you got to take this, you got to pay for these, and so there's different definitions and different levels of what people mean when it comes to providing. So gentlemen, what do you guys think about this?
Okay. Um, you just opened up a can of worms. Um, it may not necessarily sound, or it may not necessarily sound like a very clear response, but I have to start off. Provision is according to the position that you hold. So if I am a father, if I am a husband, then provision comes through the mantle of husbandry to my spouse, comes through the mantle of fatherhood to my children. Therefore, I don't get to make it up as I go along. More importantly, you can't make it up either. So at the end of the day, you may have in your mind what you think provision means for me, but you don't dictate that, nor do you mandate that. That is actually instructions to me what I'm supposed to provide. I am supposed to be that caregiver, that caretaker, that teacher, that person that enforces, and I'm gonna say it this way: I enforce standards within the house. I make sure that those standards are first understood, then I make sure that those standards are enforced. I make sure that our children are being raised to be responsible, respectable adults that not only understand authority but respect authority as well. I'm being generalized right now, Gaddy. I know you're gonna go a little deeper on this, so that's why that's why I'm just hanging out in the rafters right
Over
now.
there licking his chops.
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready. So my children understand authority. They respect authority. Not only just that, part of that provision is me and you coming together to become one. Part of that instruction, part of that caregiving, part of me filling that position as a husband. It's not that we're two individuals that live our separate lives and then we cohabitate in the evening. No, we are one. So whatever I believe, you believe, and that's how we exercise it within the confines of our home. That way, our children, they are not getting mixed messages. That's one of the biggest issues that we face, that we're witnessing right now today. Mixed messaging. My child should not hear a different set of instructions that come from me, nor should they hear a different set of instructions that come from you, because we are governed by one thing and one thing alone. So I'm gonna start there. That way, I think I done revved up Gaddy enough that way I can let him go, turn him loose.
Here you go.
No, I mean you did, but I'm like, anything else that I say right there would be added to what's already good, because you said it. But can we do something?
Mm-hmm.
Can we look at these definitions again? Can
Yeah,
we go to
which one you want
definition
to look
one?
at? Huh?
Definition one. Can we go?
Mm-hmm.
Giving or supplying something that contributes to another person's needs, wants, security, or well-being. Go to three. In the supported areas of emotion. I thought you put something else in here.
This one.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. No, but I should have just went in order. I should have just did what I thought. Went in order. All right. In the physical, mental, emotional uh capacity, right? Because that's where that availability comes in. Is that because my provision in these areas, right? I stay available, and this is why I use this term. And I'm glad that you said that. What it means to me, this is what it means to me. I stay available physically. That's why I'm learning how to eat better. Something we weren't taught young, right? I'm learning to move more intently, right? I'm trying to do these things because I don't want to go away too early and I don't finish the work, right? Because there's work still left to do with these babies. So I show up in those areas, maintain availability, and I like how Coach said it earlier on, because in any of those areas that I begin to lack provision, I become I create abandonment in their life. All right, and so what does it look like to different people? That's why we have these different aspects in different areas, right? Because is it easy to abandon me mentally? Maybe not, because my father kind of made me a little more mentally strong, right? All right. So, but I feel your physical separation. I feel that more. So it doesn't mean that, and I get what you were saying earlier. It doesn't mean that you didn't do these acts that should be seen as abandonment. But for me, I'm not worried there, because I'm tough enough to not let that bother me. But this separation is bothering me. And that's why, man, and I'm gonna shut up. But this is why I love, even when the first time he said that your love language is manipulation, I was like, huh? As a as a minister, especially when your chaplain found out you're a minister in the military, you start taking these courses, and one of the things you're always trained to teach marriages is to teach them off the fundamentals of these 5 love languages. So now I have to rewire and rewrite everything I learned when it came to marital ministry, right? And he knows that. When he says that, he knows that very well, because he's probably been to even more of those classes that I've been to. So but when you realize that, that didn't bother me. What fixed it for me is when he said it's so that you can learn more about you. And so now what I find out about me is that, oh, that's what it means when I find out that physical touch is my love language, because that's where my abandonment issue comes in, is when you physically separate from me. So now I recognize that in myself. That's not to hold you, but that's for me to understand why. Okay, that's probably why it's your love language, because you thirst in that area. Because you're afraid to be abandoned in that area. But I hold right there, because I know there's so much more to go to.
Hold on, bring it back. Let me.
I know, my bad.
I just want to add one other thing. Bring that presence piece back up again, because this is the perfect time to talk about. I think there's so much more. See, physically, mentally, or emotionally available to engage. But even in my distance, you should still feel my presence because of the impact that I made in your life. That's the other piece. That's the more profound piece to me. See, when you get older, you become a young adult. You go out and start maneuvering this thing we call life. You still feel my presence because he's been a teacher, he's been a confidant, he's been a counselor, he's been all of these things to me in those times, especially in those times of need. So we can't just limit presence to physical presence. It has to be such a degree that even in his absence, the father, even mother, even in their absence to that child, they still feel the presence.
Man, I like
Can I
I like
can I
what y'all
really
saying, but then I'm gonna get back to the go ahead. No, go ahead, Gaddy. Go ahead.
no, because he said something, and I love the way he just played in my head. And I hope this helps somebody. But remember when you was a kid, my father gave me so much confidence in him as a kid. Somebody, an adult in my neighborhood, said something crazy to me. What? My father told me I could do this. So why are you worried about it? Oh, your father said so? Yeah, T said something. So say something. I'll go get my father. I'll go because the presence of my father, like what he's talking about, it stood with me so much. I had confidence everywhere I went because I understood the presence of who my father was. And that gave me a confidence when I moved because I wasn't worried about what you did to me. Didn't no adult worry me because if you did wrong by me, I knew you had to answer to my father. And so that gave me just kind of like this comfort. People knowing, and let me say this to some men out there: people knowing that your child have a father at home, it creates a deterrent, especially when they know you're a present father. I'm not saying it creates absolute absence of harm, but it creates a presence. People know that there's a father in that home. When boys start dating your daughter around the neighborhood, they know she got a daddy at home that cares. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Man, y'all own this one. I don't even know if it's anything I should even be adding to it. The only thing I kind of wanted to go with was like, where do those definitions kind of come from? You know, it kind of seems like in I'm leaning towards culture, you know, and whatever that culture of yours may be, and whether that came from mama and big mama and grandma and them, or whether that came from, you know, wherever. But where do y'all, you know, real quick, and then we'll move on. But where do y'all think those definitions of providing and provision come from?
I'm trying to digest your point about culture, not to find flaw with it, but to
Mm-hmm.
see if it's lining up with what I'm thinking. So let me just say it,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm thinking first. The culture don't define that for me. My parents define that for me. Now, if my parents got their definition from the culture, then the culture defined it. But my parents have the ability to define what provision looks like for me as a boy child before I'm exposed to the culture. So now, if my parents defined that and defined it crystal clear, not just based upon their words, but based upon their deeds, their interactivity, how they did things in the house, outside the house, right? Now that definition in my mind is crystal clear. But if they do not define it in the house, now I'm subject to the cultural definition of what provision look like, and I'm also subject to the ridicule and judgment of the culture as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with it. Who's my major influence? And I say it like that in today's culture because it seems like the easy answer is put the TV on, give them a tablet. So when they come home from daycare, they sat down so that you can talk to your homeboy and your homegirl on the phone and talk about how bad your day was, not knowing that your child probably got something to tell you, all right? But now you sitting them in front of the tablets, not in front of the tab. So like your definitions are coming from the ones that you are allowing into your mind. So if my teacher and at the time my teachers were more my upbringing, this is why a lot of people are confused because guess what? I change teachers every year. So if mama and daddy is not the one giving me this rooted information, then it's too many. There's too many places to get these definitions from. So sometimes we're piecing together ship mailing it together, or we become 18, 21 years old, and we're getting our answers off of the people we end up following on social media.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
So, but
That's true.
ideally, I'm right there with coaches at though.
Shout out to A12 Digital. Lack of reciprocation or gratitude from your provisions may cause you to feel that abandonment. And shout out also, definitely appreciate you for your comment. And also shout out to Miss Lisa Keys. They shouldn't differ, but depending on the foundational instructions, you align with like-minded individual. Shout out to y'all. Always glad and happy to see people being part of the conversation. Anybody else out there, go ahead and hit that like button, that share button. If you got a question or something, feel free to stick it in the chat and we will get to it. The next question up, gentlemen, is uh I remember back in the day, and I hear on social media sometime in different platforms stuff. People talk about how back in the day, grandma stayed with granddaddy because he provided everything. Grandma didn't work, and no one talks about how bad their relationship was or whatever like that. But a lot of people say that there was a financial thing or a financial situation and the reasons why some of those people stayed. But bringing that current to the where we are right now, and I know all of us are in the military. I don't know what y'all wives or ex-wives, or I got an ex-wife. I was the sole provider financially when it came to everything. So and I know a lot of men out there, especially in the military, because of the way it's structured, you can get by and really your spouse does not have to work. So I see a lot of conversations and things happen in the military when it comes to one person providing and all of the financial means. So what happens when financial provision becomes the primary way someone measures their contribution to a relationship? And I like that question because coach said something earlier about the distance is important and your presence should be felt even when you're not there. Up until that thought, I was always up, and probably if you would asked me 5 minutes ago, I would have said when I was in Iraq, I was nothing more than a paycheck because my wife at the time and my three boys were in the States. And back then we had, dial up internet, Skype, stuff like that. So we didn't have the internet as we have in 2026. So there was limited conversations back home. So I never really thought about my presence being felt while I was in Iraq. So again, the question, I say all of that to bring up the question again, what happens when financial provision becomes the primary way someone measures their contribution to a relationship?
I'll take a stab at this one. When financial provision becomes the primary way, um, the relationship becomes more performative at this point. It's about it's the way I'm viewing it. That's the way I'm viewing it because financial provision to me is more. The way I'm viewing it, it means that it's more than just paying the bills, right? It's paying a lifestyle. If that's the only way that I'm providing, because then that means I have to compensate for the fact that I'm not wanted emotionally in this. I'm not wanted as a leader in this relationship. I'm not, and this is what men hear when we hear this whole I want an autonomous relationship where I live my life, you live your life. That means I provide everything, but I have no say in how this union goes. It just everything just happens. So people like that, I think that causes if that's the only way you understand me showing up, or the only way I know how to show up, I will compensate for the other ways with my finances. And I, then I don't know, so many windows open up after that. Like you have these windows for issues. Now I feel like you're not appreciative when I bought this or when I bought that, but that's how you do everything. So paying for things become a norm. You know, I feel like people will lose the appreciation for it after a while. That's the only way you can provide, you can show up. And I hope I'm not losing y'all with it, but I don't know. Uh, and then now I'm frustrated. You're not appreciative of the things I'm doing. Blah blah blah. I'm doing everything that I can. We back to this beginning conversation, but I think that's just because that's the only way you know how to show up. That's where that capacity part comes in. It's the capacity in which you know how to show up.
I like it. I see that, and I'll raise you this one. Um, and yes, please do. I'm glad you brought that up. I intended to respond to that first. Um, Change the narrative, though. What does it mean to you when your husband, current or ex, use their financial contribution as a way to measure success in a relationship? I think that's fair. That's good. Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So my first thought is initially the reason why that person is doing it is because that's what they were taught to do. They may have seen that growing up. They may have seen men when they were younger, their dads or their granddads, all they did is work, bring home the money, sit down and watch TV. Grandma got I can't even say check. What's the checkbook back then? Checkbook or whatever. Give her the check.
Billfold.
Yeah, give her the check. She go cash it and goes, take care of bills and all kind of stuff like that. The only thing granddaddy had to do, and I'm talking about granddaddy because that's the house I was raised in. And the only thing granddaddy had to do was sit down and watch Perry Mason and Atlanta Braves baseball. That's it. No joke. That was my life. So fast forward, when a young man gets married, they think, as long as I'm providing, as long as the bills are paid, as long as the food is in the cupboard and all that other great stuff, I'm doing doing the thing. But I think here's the thing that I learned. There is a disconnect between you and the people that you're supposed to be in a relationship with, because the same amount of time, and I'm using that as a comparison, the same amount of time that I spent to get the money, I need to double that time with the people I give the money to. But here's the issue. It's very difficult to do that, especially when the people that gives me the money is requiring so much of my time during the week. So I have a fraction of that time left to give to the people that I'm in relationship with. So when you look at this question and you look at a person who measures, their financial contribution to the relationship as a measure of success, well, again, it's a disconnect between them and the people that they're supposed to be in relationship with. Now, mind you, go back to what we just talked about previously, because the mantle of husbandry requires some things. It requires me to have these conversations, to teach, to sit down and educate and mold and shape impressionable little minds and turn them into responsible little adults, to love my wife like Christ loved the church, to nurture that relationship. And all of those, that takes time, which is my most valuable contribution in my relationship. But yet I'm counting it by dollar. And I'm substituting that time for the dollar because I'm spending time over here and I don't have but so much over here. What more do you want from me? Well, they want you. That's the answer. I hate to say it that way. And unfortunately, they may be enjoying the fruits of your labor. They're missing the fruits of you, which is the thing the relationship mandates. So there's a huge disconnect between the husband, the wife, the father, and the children. But more importantly, you're not necessarily fulfilling your role when it comes down. So you're substituting, right? And I get it. We live in a time and space to where got to work, got to pay bills, and they want 40 plus. And 40 hours on a regular job, 40 plus hours in the Army. I'm just going to tell you the truth. There'll be weeks we work sometimes easily 60 hours a week, and it became the norm. But what were we sacrificing for that? Now, ideally, that presence should have been like shared, if you will. In my absence, right? My spouse should have been carrying my presence in my absence. So going back to your analogy about being in Iraq, yeah, I'm in a whole foreign country. There is no 40-hour work week there. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm not there. And like you said, phone calls and Skype and all that stuff, depending upon where you were, that could have been far few and in between because I was out in the sticks, baby. I'm just saying we was out there in the dirt. So when you look at stuff like this, in my complete absence, letters taking about a month to get home, things of that nature, the spouse should carry that presence. But it's very difficult when I really didn't give her a lot of presents, to give her, to give to the kids. The present she got was the soldier. The present she needed was the husband and the father. And I'm just telling you the truth. I was Mr. Be All You Can Be. I'm trying to tell you, that's the era we grew up in, right? I was at work 5 o'clock in the morning. I got home 7 o'clock at night. 7:30, my kids getting ready for bed. So I didn't really have a whole lot to give them, simply because I spent more time making the coins and giving them the coins as opposed to giving them the fruits of who I was.
Whew.
You get something?
Yeah, it's just I want to answer the question, and at the same time, I'm like, coach is like, I got a question now because it's like to backtrack into what we were saying earlier that we was going to lead into. Well, what are the right things, right? Because you said something here, right? You're saying like you're breaking down really. And when someone says systematic, well, here's the thing: the systematic part started a long time ago because a lot of us were not taught how to show up in any other way than financial, right? Because what was the struggle of our people at the time? We were building families. We weren't arguing men against women, right? We were building homes and houses. The struggle were financial. We were trying to rebuild this community, which we decided to integrate and assimilate instead of rebuild. But I digress on that, right? But there now, even though that is systematic, it has taught us how to make money. It's taught us to go either get educated, get a trade, and go work. Join the army. Be all you can be. Work. Come on, make money. There's people depending on you. Make money. All right. And this is why it sounds so innovative when somebody says, "Hey, man, take care of yourself. Go to the gym." Oh my God, is that okay? I can take personal time and do that. I don't have to go get a third job because this is how we talk about relationships. So now no one is being taught. Somebody's out there asking that question, like, well, what are the right things? How do I show up? What do I do? And for a lot of us, we had to start learning it. We was getting OJT and still didn't figure it out because for some of us, she left before we got it right. Go ahead, coach.
I like this. This is my question right here, but I got this here. I'm listen. I've been bred to answer this question.
Let's go. Let's go.
It ain't gonna sound good. It's not gonna sound good because to your
Even
point,
better.
to your point, I'm agreeing with you. You were literally taught to marry your job and date your wife. If you really pay close attention to like what the system creates in you, like even in the army, it says duty first, family always. Well, no, that's not true. It can't be. Those two things work against one another. If duty is first, wait, I thought family was first. I thought wife, I thought spouse was first. So no, those two things don't work together. So the right answer is, and again, it's not going to sound good. Young men need to build the foundation before they pursue a wife. That's the answer. I hate to say it that way.
Coach,
Get it out your system. Get the corporate ladder out your system. Climb it. Listen, shoot for the star. Listen, shoot for the stars and land on the moon. Whatever it is you do, climb, baby, climb. But once you hit your pinnacle and it's time, now open your eyes and look for your spouse. because
Somebody.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I thought you. My apology. Now I
No,
was
no,
gonna,
I was just gonna say because at that point, now I don't have to marry my job and date my wife. When I get married, 35, whatever age it is, I'm not trying to dictate to another person the age to get married. 'Cause I think that's lunacy anyway. But whenever you hit that point and you're done with climbing the corporate ladder, now open yourself up to be married because at that stage now, it's not I'm married here and I'm dating here. No, I'm dating my job and I'm marrying my wife. That's just it. If my wife blamed me for anything, it's just gonna be that my job and my side piece. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're right, and I want, and now I'm talking to you out as coaches now, because I got kids going through it at the moment, but someone told me that I was harsh and I was teaching my son, how did they word it? I was teaching him how to think negative, is what they said. Because I told him that, and I didn't tell him the why, but I know and I hear and I see what these young women are being taught, and it's even more scarier than what we got right now for a lot of these young men, and it's getting worse. That generation is teaching it even worse, and so I'm telling my son, hey, before you focus on trying to get into a marriage and into a serious relationship, if it happens, I can't stop it. I'm not fighting you. But your focus needs to be on establishing you as a man first, because you're going to continue to try to figure out who you are and try to establish yourself. And though we know that the wife should be a helpmeet, that is not what, if you get that, you're not going to get that initially coming out the gate. That's something she's going to grow into. And you know what I'm saying? So you shouldn't be in the stage to where you're still growing into a man. Growing as a man, yes. So am I too harsh?
No. Let me make it make sense. If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most of us got married when we was at the lower two tiers. You were at physiological needs and security needs. So in essence, what you guys were doing, you were trying to climb Maslow's hierarchy of needs together. And so that didn't work because a lot of times what ends up happening is that you just simply try to end up, in most cases, using one another to feel fulfilled in the space that you felt empty, right? So if I feel empty in physiological needs, men, then she feels the physiological need. If you feel empty in the security needs, women, then you're looking for a man to make you feel secure. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me say it the way they say it in the world today. I need for you to provide me a safe space. That's what it is. So you climb those two first. Then next is loving and belonging. Now, when you get to loving and belonging, that's totally different because at that point, you're in a different headspace. You're not worried about this, you're not worried about that. You're at a point in space where you're building great relationships, so forth and so on. And then next is esteem. Now, at esteem, right, it's more so of how you're showing up. These two, love and belonging and esteem, that's when the doors open. But the door should not be open before that.
I ain't got no problem with nothing Gaddy said. I don't think he harsh. I told my sons, I got 3 of them. Now they all grown. The youngest one 21, the oldest one 31. But I told mine, hey, no more than 5% of your time, your 5% of your month, you need to be spending with women. I said you need to be spending 60 to 80 hours working or building. Now, that 60 to 80 hours don't have to be all on the job. You could be taking classes, going to school, learning skills, getting certificates, but 60 to 80 hours a week, like, bro, like, I ain't saying coach is saying what I'm saying, but like coach said, never mind. I would just use my own words. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be doing something with your time. If you, here, you need to be building that nest and have that nest before you bring somebody in. That's what I believe too. That's what I told mine. At the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They grown, they their own men, but they ain't going to never say they ain't going to know. I don't think I said that right. But I always told man, I said, you're going to be, because I told my kids, look, bro, I'm cheat off of my paper. I give you all the answers. I don't got nothing to have. I want you to get A on the test. Look over here. I'm give you all the tests. Use me. Don't take advantage of me, but use me to your advantage to get ahead in life. You know what I mean? I'm here for you, but to this question, I kind of went off on a tangent for whatever reason. But to go ahead.
Okay, I just because I don't think if we never give the why,
Mm-hmm.
then I think when people hear that, they're like, man, that's harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the why requires us to own some things.
Mm-hmm.
And the ownership goes back generation after generation after generation after generation after generation. Because the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So, in essence, the way it is supposed to be, my sons are supposed to assume the family business that I was creating while I was preparing for them to show up. Then they become an apprentice in that family business. So they actually get trained by me to run the business. Then I step away from the business and I become more of an advisor to them as they run the family business. Well, guess what they're not doing at that stage? They're not climbing the corporate ladder at a young age because I've already created the corporate ladder for them and put them in the position so that they don't have to climb. So when we did not do that, not just our generation, the generation that precedes us and so forth and so on, when we did not do that, what we did is we set the conditions for them to have to do exactly what we just said. And if they don't do it that way, then the only thing left is playing, I don't know, playing roulette and hoping that you hit. Because that's really what's happening in the game right now. I hate to say it that way. When you're getting married, you're legitimately playing roulette. If you do not, if you're, especially if you do it early and you got to go through Maslow's hierarchy of needs together, and we'll look at what we'll do, we'll look at the exceptions to the rule. These two people got married out of high school and they've been together for 50 years. Baby, that's not the norm. To God be the glory for them. But when you do statistically across the board, that's far few and in between. So we'll talk about the exceptions to the rule and not talk about the rule. The rule is we actually did them a great injustice. Our parents did us a great injustice. Their parents did them a great injustice. And that bad teaching has been passed down from generation to generation.
I ain't gonna doubt that. I like that. I am going to come. Let's say here I go. What happens when financial provision becomes the primary way someone measures their contribution to a relationship? They leave. Now, here's what I mean by that. What if the person is the provision? So I'm coming from the person that is being provided for. I have heard women who, and this is not a hit on women at all. It's not bad mouthing women, but I have heard women say that they left homes where the man was the main provider or the financial provider because they wanted their independence. They had never, paid for their own car. They never paid for their own mortgage. So they walked away from situations because they felt that their contribution to the marriage was financial, but it wasn't. It is whatever your role may be in that relationship. If he was doing the financial provision, then maybe your role would have been, the major upbringing and the rearing of the kids, going to different places. Like Coach said, he was going in at 5 o'clock, getting off at 7 p.m. That's 14-hour days. How many PTA meetings can you go to when you're working 14 hours? How many soccer games and football games and functions can you go to? Birthday parties. You're working 14 hours a day. So someone picks up that slack. But I think what happens sometimes, and this may be the exception as well, and that's why I speak from like the military, because I've saw it especially in the military, where people have walked away because they didn't feel like they were given a financial a monetary amount in a relationship because for whatever reason felt like if I'm not giving money then I'm not doing enough. But yeah, I've seen that, and that's the only reason why I want to highlight. But I think it may be more of the exception to anything. Um, Anything else on this before we move on? We did two questions.
I was just on that
Go
military
ahead.
piece. just because there's the flip side too. The other party can leave too. In the military, how many times I had a battle buddy. He joined older. I think he was like 40 when it got to us. Um, he had owned a business at one point. All of us say he was married for like 20 years, and so it blew my mind when his wife, after we was about to deploy again for the second time. For him, it would have been two deployments in 3 years. First 3 years in the army, and so she was like, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna leave." And he had big kids too, and she was about to leave him after 20 something years of marriage because he couldn't provide in the space that he used to provide properly. And he was working these hours, and yeah, he was providing. And he tried to provide even more financially. He was trying to go officer. He graduated from Citadel, denied a commission. Some things happened. So and so you're looking. You're like, okay, he's trying to add to the provide value. But because we're in the military, and just like you talking about with them 14 hours or even longer, we talking about 6:30. We at PT. We ain't dropping them kids off, and we ain't getting off to them kids is halfway tucked in. So let's just call it, especially if you big Sarge. Let's just call it. Let's call a spade, right? And that's the life. So for her, she's like, no. Okay, I get the financial piece, and coach, like you saying, I think this was one of those. They've been together since high school, so she was with him from broke to wealthy. I guess back to broke or whatever you want to call him going into the army. All right, but now I think for her, it was when he no longer was physically available, when his presence, when his time limited. And so when you show up financially, sometimes it means you're sacrificing that high earning. I hope somebody out there looking for them six figures. I hear this. When you're looking for that high earning, you're asking for less time, less availability. So I just wanted to add that on where you were at.
I got my first rude awakening about time when I got promoted to E5 the first time. Everybody be like, "Oh, E4, like, man, I can't wait till I get promoted to E5, man. Sarge always gone. He be doing this, bro. Joe gone at 16:30, 17:30. Like we had formation, we having a freaking meeting with First Sergeant at 1900, 18:30. Joe gone. Joe at home with his wife. And like you said, the more you move up, you big Sarge, bro. All the time. I don't miss them days. What we gonna try? Huh?
Now I was just gonna say, speaking of time, make sure that everybody's here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Hearts of Women will be talking about time. Just want to throw that out.
Talking about time. Speaking of time, we already at an hour. Man, we got a poll for y'all. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna throw this poll up here. So when I throw the poll up there, we are going to get to a while y'all are working or filling out the poll or putting in your number with the poll. The poll is this: which makes you feel most valued in a relationship? And 4 answers. If you choose number 4, feel free to type in your answer or your response to whatever it is that you have. And kind of interested to see what you guys say. And we'll get to it later on. But while y'all doing that, we're gonna answer a we're gonna do a scenario. I don't know where the poll went, Coach. Oh, you got it. Okay. All right. So here's the scenario. For 19 years, he has been working long hours, paying the bills, and providing everything his family needs. His wife says, "I don't feel like I have you anymore." I thought I had it up there long ago. His wife says, "I don't feel like I have you anymore." He responds, "But I do everything." Gentlemen, what's your response to this? Just a scenario.
Did it just happen at 19 years?
After 19 years.
I mean, that's kind of like my initial question. Like, why did it take 19 years for her to say something?
Oh.
Not saying that what she's saying is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what happened at 19 years now you're having this conversation.
Yeah, that's the same thing I would say. What haven't y'all been talking about?
And the reason why that's important, because I'm glad we held that right there, because that's my question is, if how was I more available in the first 19 years if I've been working long hours and paying the bills the whole 19 years, right? That means somehow, some way, we found a way to make time with me working these hours. So what has changed or what has happened? And, sometimes that's maybe, we had a kid, so now she don't have there's not a lot of space or wiggle room. You got to get a babysitter or something like that. Someone got to watch the kids for you got to have a person. You know, I get that, but for me, and I think a lot of times we use that as an avenue to say you're not present no more, and we need to separate. 'Cause I don't feel like I have you no more. But raising a kid, guess what? That's what comes with it. That's why I always advocate to young people that get married. Wait a while before I start. I know you want to practice tonight, but wait a while before you score and get a goal, because them that whatever time you think y'all got now, when it's just you and your spouse, you don't have that time when you got that kid, especially when they're an infant and they're not self-sufficient. They can't go play in the room. You don't have the time. And that's hard to deal with, especially it's hard to deal with on a mother that's dealing with postpartum. But
Yeah, I think with the scenario, um, like Coach said, why did it take so long to have this conversation? It should have been talked about. But also, it's like, they say, I was married for I was married for 19 years. But they say you never you never divorce the person. You don't divorce the person that you marry. You know what I mean? So even I can see how it can get there, but it's not just one conversation. It was a whole bunch of conversations and stuff that wasn't had and wasn't talked about for 19 years. It just didn't come out of nowhere. But I definitely, as I look back, mine was, I didn't after 19 years, I was done too. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't feel like I have you no more either. Like we both was mutual about how we felt about each other after 19 years. And it seems like in this situation, it's kind of the same thing. Maybe just they didn't put in the time over the years to build that. So at some point it became the distance grew. So I don't know.
Can we bring it back up for a second,
Yes,
please?
sir.
I only gave a first reflection of the question. Like the 19
Mhm.
years matter, but I don't want to act like the stuff that's also being said after the 19 years isn't a fact to somebody.
Mhm.
That's the key. It may not have been a fact to him, but it was a fact to her. So the 19 years matter. Why did it take so long? Then number two, like when you look at I don't feel like I have you anymore. Like now we got to unpack that to understand what that really means, right? Because it's not that her feelings are invalid. I have a thing like your feelings are never wrong, but you have a responsibility to analyze those feelings to determine whether or not the reason why you feel is actually right. You see what I'm saying? So I do agree that you feel that way. Now tell me why. Well, because you work all the time. Well, I've been working all the time for 18 years. So it did not bother you for the first 18 years. Yeah, it did bother me. I just didn't say anything. Well, okay. So your silence now, what I'm hearing is the reason why you're feeling that way. Because if I don't know I'm doing anything wrong that's not working for you, then that should have been a conversation that we had up here, before we got to this point to where at 19 years, maybe some frustration, some arguments, and all that other great stuff exists. So that's why I say it's not that the 19 years is irrelevant, and it's not that how she is feeling is wrong. It's not even the fact that what she is saying is not true. It's the fact that we didn't have this conversation for a reason. The question that I want to understand is why.
Yeah, I definitely get that. The why. What you got, Gaddy?
no, I was just gonna say, but that's why I asked the question, like, what changed? Because I feel like what it sounds like is there was an effort in the beginning, and hear me out, and I only say that because it says for 19 years I've been working long hours and providing for my family. So I've been doing this for 19 years. maybe the reason why we haven't had the question is because maybe we were able to find time. So maybe something changed, and because it couldn't have just be, it couldn't have just became an issue today. Like, so that's where my mind is at. Like, what changed that made it an issue right now? That I get when you was younger, you was trying to hold on, but I don't know what you was trying to hold on to, because the more money I make and the more money you progress, it doesn't mean your hours ain't gonna get better unless you change profession. You got a different type of job, but usually pay raises don't come with better hours, right? Um, it's just the way I'm looking at it. So that's where I'm at with it, and so that's my question. Like, okay, it is valid. She does feel this way. Why haven't we had the conversation? But also, what if something, you're like, we didn't have the conversation because we were able to have time? Because look what she says. I don't feel like I have you anymore. What changed? That's just the only place I'm lost at. Because did you change? Because that's also, and did you change? Did you stop finding time in your free time? You want me to find time in my busy time when I'm tired as well. Well, we both, and this is where we both have to. Yes, I'm gonna say this is where we both had to sacrifice. All right, which to me, if we both sacrificing, it's a compromise. And that's how I'm. But I love my brother, so I'm gonna concede on that. Maybe.
But see, there's another piece to it as well. Because if you read that question slowly, it really sounds like he's the only one that's working. Maybe
But
that's
that's
the
my
reason why he's working long hours.
but that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, within her day, she was able or willing to find time. Why can't we do lunch together? Why can't you bring lunch to me and we do lunch together if you're not working, right? All right. Why can't that be the way? Like, because after 19 years, it's hard for you to expect me to change the way I work at the job, because now I'm relied upon at this place at the level of what I do. And it's hard to come after 19 years of working here and say, hey, bro, I'm gonna drop these hours by like 10 hours for 10 hours a week so I can find more time with my wife. They're gonna be like, what was y'all doing before?
Yeah. Comments. I saw two comments. I'm gonna get to those real quick. The first one is from again, thank you again for the comment at 12 digital. Moral spiritual values play a big part in this component. The nurturing presence needed for you after coming out of those sticks was the wife. That was from a few minutes ago. Yep. And then another one is, yes, it's Maya. This one is like 3 minutes ago. So this one's probably right where we're at right now. What if there was a conversation about it? Did I miss where it says there was no conversation about it? So I mean, I guess we go back to it. There was nothing that said that there actually was a conversation. It seems like there probably wasn't a conversation. Or even the conversation that they had didn't change anything or didn't produce the outcome or the results that she wanted. So now she's like, all right, well, I'm out. Well, not necessarily say she out, but
I'm about to
how
say,
she
is
feels
this
about
a
it.
conversation? Because this could be and my, I think that's where, at least that's where I'm coming from. I don't know. It sounds like this. It was probably where Coach is coming from. Like, if this is the initial conversation, then why 19 years? So I'm where you at. So was there a conversation before 19 years? Because if not, what change do you expect? Because now, and I'm being like, that's an honest question. Like, and if any of the women agree with the wife, and I'm not saying don't agree with the wife, please explain. Because I like, if this is something that's been going on for 19 years, what is the expectation of change? Because as a man, I'm thinking, how do I go to work after 19 years and say I'm not going to work like this no more? Or do I change? Do you expect me to change professions?
Yeah. So that's kind of like my point. Like, I think now we're beginning to add to, right? I think at some point, just based upon the question, there is no information that says that the conversation took place prior to. from our understanding, this is the first time this conversation is happening. At least that's how I read it.
Yeah.
And at the level that this conversation is happening, you see two different levels of frustration. You see her level of frustration saying he's not there, and his level of frustration that says, "But I'm doing everything. I work, I pay the bills, I'm always going. I'm doing like if we need, I'm the one that's providing that." So within the scope of those levels of frustration, there has to be an understanding that's actually had. Either you don't work as much because you done climbed the corporate ladder enough, and we done acquired all the stuff that we need. Maybe we sell this big old house, buy a smaller house, and live off the whatever that looks like. I really don't care. That's between the two of you, right? But I think at some point you have to recognize that this has gone on for so long that two different levels of frustration have surfaced, and neither one of them are more important than the other. And I think that's where we start to fall into issues because we start identifying which one is more important. And generally, the one that we've identified that is more important is the one that I side with. I side with the man side or I side with the woman side because
Yeah.
I've been there. Very dangerous game to play.
Yeah, yeah. Great point. Looking at the poll. So the poll was, is it up there? Bring it up there. The poll was, which makes you feel most valued in a relationship? The first one was what I provide. We got 0 takers on that. The second one was time and attention. We got 0 takers on that. We had 3 for emotional connection and 4 for others. So let me scroll through some of these others um and see what we got. I gotta scroll back a little bit, but it's all good. Okay, we got some fours, we got some threes, 4. Lisa Key said her 4 is duty. Okay. She is becoming said feelings shouldn't matter, but still filtering the junk.
I
That's
have
her
a
number 4. Huh?
if the poll is still open, it looks like I have a question. If they got a one and a comma next to it or asterisk or something next to it, is it calculating into the poll? If you wrote four, you probably should have done four separately and then your response behind it, so it can count into the poll.
4, adding value to to the other person and the relationship. Let me see. 4, it's not just one thing for me. From Yes, It's Maya. Chris Everett had number 4. There's another one, A12 Digital Acts of Gratitude.
I like that. Acts of gratitude is what it said.
See what you did.
Because words of gratitude don't mean that much to me.
Yeah, those are some good ones. I liked all of those. After this poll, what we're gonna do? Scenario poll question. Next, we're gonna do. They're gonna do question number 3. Thanks again for everybody who participated in the poll. Really appreciate your participation and being part of the show. Definitely appreciate all the questions, comments, and everything. If you hadn't already, we're about to wrap it up in about 15 minutes or so. So go ahead and hit that like and share button and all of those good things like that. Don't forget, tomorrow 10:30, Hearts of Women podcast. Be there. Come back. Right. Coach, you ain't did that in a long time.
Right. I was thinking that last week, I think.
I can't remember the last time I did it.
Yeah. Number 3. Hold on, let me move the time up real quick. Number 3. How do we distinguish between being physically present and actually being present with someone? I would say I used to be guilty of like, hey, we need to spend time together. Well, if we're in the same room, if you watching TV and I'm on my phone, like we spending time together. So, gentlemen, how do you distinguish between physically being present and actually being present with someone? Or maybe that is your definition.
Well, so look, I kind of made mention of this slightly, just a little bit, because the physical presence right, leads to the overall presence, which does not necessarily require physical presence for there to be presence. So the distinguishing factor to me is the outcome of the physical presence. What are we actually doing? Right? Like you said, you could be watching TV, I'm on my phone. Yeah, we're in the same room, two warm bodies in the same room, but we ain't connecting on no level whatsoever. So, what are we actually doing when we are present? Are we doing things to where the family is valued? Like it's a goofy movie on Netflix. I think it's called The Last House. And if you haven't seen it, it's it's a movie,
You
right?
said last house or glass house?
The Last House,
Last.
right? So they were stuck in the house. They couldn't get out the house, and they ended up being stuck in the house for like 5 years. That's kind of like the gist of it. That's all I'm going to tell you about the movie. But one of the things I liked is that when they were stuck in the house, they did family things together, and the dad was right in the midst of it. They was playing games, they was dancing, they was doing all kinds of stuff. See, these things are the things that build intimacy in a relationship. The quality of the time that is spent together equates to intimacy for not just a husband and a wife, because I know we hear the word intimacy and our mind runs straight to the gutter. Cut it out. Wrong with y'all. Um, but for the father and the children, for the mother and the children, right? That connection, that bond, that desiring to be around your dad soon as he walks in the home. You know what I'm saying? The desire to be around your mom soon as she walks in, stuff like that. So that's the thing that, in my opinion, is the great separator. The outcome of what it is that we're doing. What exactly are we doing? What's the reason for it? And what is the desired outcome that we're going to get from it?
How do we distinguish between being physically present and actually being present with someone? I think there are two heavy moments in relationships. There's a lot of heavy moments in relationships. Let's just put that out there, right? Um, and the least compatible you are, the more heavy moments you have in your relationship. I'm gonna say that. I think sometimes we marry off of aesthetics, and this is not talked about enough. Is and this is dangerous because it can be so confused. Some people think it's about a vain thing of she look good, he look good. Sometimes it's not even that she's the finest person. It's that she looks good with me, meaning for what I need to become. I see myself becoming the president. I need a woman that looks like a first lady. Yeah, you picking up and putting down. Like I feel like, and this is what a lot of people do, and a lot of women do it too. I feel like I need this, or I'm on social media. A lot of girls pick men that look good in pictures for for the social media. Like this is a thing, and I'm hearing these young people talk, and I can't date him. He don't take what pictures well. He he treat you well. That matters. Like, but these moments when you're not compatible, right? Especially when you're not compatible, come and they look like this. We can be around each other, but we can't, but we don't speak. Uh-oh. Why? Because when when we're around each other, we know that we don't have nothing to talk about. See, early on in a relationship, it was all happy go lucky because it was giddy, it was new, it felt good. I like being around her, she liked being around me. We like each other presence. Now our two dumb behinds moved in together. Now we stuck underneath each other, and we cannot stand what each other personal space look like because we are not compatible. But it was because we now that we're in close proximity all the time, now we realize it, and that's a real thing. And so now and sometimes I don't think the question is take the conversation is had from that perspective because it's like, hey, should we proceed and continue living together and then get married and have kids that we're not going to raise together because we really don't like each other and we're actually together out of obligation at this point because we live together? I'm just speaking the truth. See, why y'all always vote for them? It's somebody else vote.
Matter of fact, I need to vote. Man. How do we distinguish how do we distinguish between being physically present and actually being present with someone? It's where are you at mentally too? You know what I mean? Like if me and Gaddy in front of each other and we're having a conversation, right? And Gaddy talking, and I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm listening, bro. Yeah. Go ahead, man. Like I'm physically there, but I'm not present. I'm not locked in with him. We're not on the same wavelength, kind of what coach was talking about. I don't know why I keep saying that all day. I keep saying that. I keep saying it, and then I forget what I say in the midst of saying, um, coach said something about that. I don't know what's going on today. But it's about, like you said, what are you doing while you're there with that person, like in that relationship? Like when me and Shell are watching, when we're there and we're in the living room and I'm on my phone and she's watching TV, like I said, we're not locked in. But if we're both there, we're both watching TV, maybe we're watching the same show, we're laughing, we're commenting about the show, maybe we're holding hands, eating popcorn, drinking wine or something. I don't know. But that's that's being more present and then more locked in and stuff like that. So, coach summed it up, Gaddy co-signed it, and I'm just adding more fat to the pot. So let me slide on down and see what this poll is before we do this rapid fire, because I don't know who's in the hot seat right now.
Man, come on, man. Stop playing. Let's
Who
go.
in the hot seat?
Me.
Oh, coach in the hot seat?
Yeah, me.
All right, so coach
They
in the hot seat.
cheating. They cheating. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I voted for Gaddy. I wanted Gaddy in the hot seat.
See, Gaddy primed the audience. That's what happened. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
I didn't prompt. They knew.
Yeah.
what
Oh,
they
y'all
knew
vote
right
for
by me.
somebody else.
Yeah, he poisoned the
When
well.
everybody-
That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Manipulating. All right, so here we go, folks. Here is we got rapid fire. We got 8 questions for coach. Coach going to hit these questions real fast, and then we may come back to some of these for clarification, or if somebody want to know a little bit more about them, put it in the chat and we'll come back to it. All right, so first rapid fire question of the night is this: can money replace presence?
No. Next.
Can someone be surrounded by people and still feel abandoned?
Yes. Next.
Is providing a form of love?
Yes. Next.
Can providing become a way of avoiding difficult conversations?
Yes. Next.
Does being needed mean you're appreciated?
No.
Can someone demand presence while ignoring what their partner provides?
Yes.
Is feeling unappreciated always about what someone else is doing?
No.
Last but not least, can you provide too much?
Yes.
Ooh, you can?
Yes.
I agree too. Any of those, Gaddy, you want to get back to, or coach?
Man, it was like 3 of them. I needed him to like. There's 3 of them. I was like, wait a minute. And
Shout
it's
out
not
to
even that-
coach. Everybody give coach a round of applause by putting in a 4 in the chat.
But yeah, oh man, it just escaped me too. But it was one that he mentioned in the middle. That yes, him a way of avoiding yes. So go back
This
to the
one?
last one. Yes, this one right here. Can providing become a way of avoiding difficult conversation? I know everyone knows the answer is yes, but I just wanted you find coaches to just kind of like dig a little bit more, because a lot of people don't. To me, I feel like this right here is what, and I call this, is just Gaddy's word, financial abuse looks like.
Speaking from experience, I pay everything, so everything gets become my way. And I don't want to have the conversation about it because I'm not changing. I provide everything. It is the way it is. This is where the buck stops. That was old, ignorant, young, immature me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a different route. I'm gonna go a different route to where, let's just say, somebody does something to where they violate the other person's, let's just say, trust, for the lack of better terms.
Mm.
And then to kind of butter them up, they show up with some flowers and candy, go buy them a ring or something of that nature to kind of like soften the blow because they don't necessarily want to have that honest, difficult conversation. So anyway, and I'm agreeing with Gaddy, that is a form of financial abuse. Anything that you're using in lieu of, it doesn't necessarily have to be money spent, right? It could be anything if I'm being completely transparent. Like the conversation still needs to be had. And unfortunately, some people will allow that to be the case, even though they know that they have a history of doing the thing. They want the gift over being standing there and say, okay, we're gonna have this conversation regardless of.
Boom. But those you got, Gaddy.
Now I concur with what both of you said. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that people do when they want you to accept their bad behavior. You know, and some of it is taught behavior. Because I remember the older men always told us, hey, stay out of the doghouse. Make sure you come home with flowers because you never know when she mad, right? And as if because I bought home flowers, it throws perfume on the stench that I left in the marriage, whatever that is. Sometimes you don't know, but yeah, that's what I was. That's what we were taught, and I think you were taught financial. We were taught as men financial abuse, and this is why I understand. I don't argue when I hear some women talk about how men use their providing, as a way of control. I get it. I don't think it's true all the time, but I think it's true in some cases. I've seen it. But that goes it's back where we started from because we were never taught for a lot of us anything other than bringing home the bacon, as we would say. Now, like you said, now that because I pay for everything, I buy the food in this house. I'm the man in this house. Everything needs to go my way.
At 12 Digital, thank you for your comment. I think presence can be subjective, but in my opinion, I believe engagement of some sort is necessary. Appreciate your comment. Gentlemen, we're going to hit this one more question real quick. We only got a couple minutes, so we got to hit it and quit it, in and out. So here we go, real quick. What is, then we'll get to our final thoughts and we're going to close this out. What is one question someone could ask the people closest to them to find out whether they feel supported beyond what is being provided?
It's actually two questions, but it's hard because it's a lead-in question for me. So it's kind of like, and it's intentional because it says to get this answer, right? So my first question is, what do you need help with? What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? Right? Because everybody got that thing that that they're working on at the moment. That's weighing on them at the moment. So then my question, then I'll go like this: why don't you ask such and such for help? Man, nah, they don't want to help me. They got other stuff to work. That I start looking at their responses then. You know what I mean? And if the people that are closest to them, they're saying don't have the time or don't want to help them for any reason, they're usually saying that because they honestly believe in their heart that these people do not have their backs. To me, that's abandonment because I feel like on the inside they feel like if they succeed, those same people are gonna be there wanting to help celebrate.
Bring back up number one, please. I just want everybody to see it again. Providing, giving, or supplying something that contributes to another person's needs, wants, security, or well being. Now bring the question back up. The first thing I would do is change the word feel to are in the question. I would just ask them this question right here. Don't tell me how you feel, tell me what you know. Because your feelings could be that way just simply because that's how you feel. Tell me what you know. When you look at the evidence that happens within this house, do you believe or are you supported beyond what is being provided? Because if I leave it to how you feel, I'm opening the door for every last one of your insecurities to hit the table. I'm not here to appease your insecurities. I'm here to fulfill my role as husband and as father. So when certain things come out, we can have conversations about those certain things. When the evidence come out, the evidence is the facts, and that is reality. So I'm careful when I ask you to tell me how you feel about reality, because at the end of the day, you get to make it up. But if I tell you to show me, give me the facts, talk to me about, based upon what you observe, do you believe that you are supported beyond what is provided? There's really only, a couple of ways you can answer that. If the answer is no, okay, now I'm going back to what Gaddy said. What can I do to change that outlook for you? Because just because you tell me what I can do, that don't necessarily mean I'm gonna do it. Because some things, you know, might not. Yeah, we're just gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to talk about that a little bit more in detail. Because okay, got it. But that's probably just what you want me to do, or what you quote unquote need me to do. And I'm careful, right? I'm careful when we hit to the notion of, this is what I need from you. Okay. What are we really talking about now? So that's why I say I'm loving the question, but I would take this question and change it to a evidence-based conversation, to where now both of us have to lay down how we feel, identify the facts, and then according to how I felt before, this kind of goes back to a question that Maya asked previously. Right now, according to the evidence, now if I feel a particular way about the evidence, I have to analyze how I feel first before I take them and project them at you. If I analyze how I feel based upon the evidence and the thing that we agreed to, the thing that is right, then at that point, now we can have a conversation. If your feelings line up with what is right. But if your feelings is just what you want, that doesn't guarantee I'm gonna do it. So that's just kind of like, and I know some people cringe when they hear stuff like that, but I think that's what boundaries look like. I think that's what healthy relationships look like. The fact that we can have honest conversations, to where just because you say a thing, I don't necessarily fold.
Yep, I'm with you. I kind of like that too. It don't need to be a whole lot changed. I would start, mine would be simple. What do you think you what do you think you need in order to feel like you're being supported, besides what you're already getting? Like, I would keep it simple. Like, what do you mean? Like, go into more details about what you mean when it comes, because like when you see that word feel, it's a whole lot that can be wrapped around that word feel. It might just be how you feel in the moment right now. You might have just got some bad news, you might have got a mosquito bite or something, and now you scratching it, and now you upset, and you just want to take it out on me because you frustrated, So it could be a whole bunch of different things. But gentlemen, I definitely appreciate every word that, and every syllable that was said here tonight. You guys have been on it. I was shocked that we able to get through all of that stuff. We stayed on a couple of them for a while, so definitely a great conversation. But with that being said, we're going to definitely plug 10:30 tomorrow morning, Hearts for Women podcast. Make sure y'all come in and check that out. And then I think that's about it. I guess we can roll out with the final thoughts. Here we go.
Paid for everything, present for nothing. I provide, so why do I feel abandoned? And everybody in this community, if you read in the chats live, you'll see everyone notices the word feel when it comes across. Because what you feel is not always necessarily reality, right? It's an aspect of how you perceive reality, it's an evidence of how you perceive reality, but it's not necessarily reality. But the question that I always ask is the why, because that brings out the legitimacy of the feelings. Why do I feel abandoned? I like that question. Why do I feel abandoned though I provide everything I think I'm supposed to provide? I'm giving my best effort. I'm putting my best foot forward. And one of the hardest truths as men, and I'm saying this to men and I'm saying this to women to understand how, what men go through sometimes, right? One of the hardest truths in this reality is that, hey, sometimes people don't really care. Like I feel abandoned because that reality set in. Now, what do I do with that reality? It's up to me whether to push forward the way I'm already going or to change courses because of what I've revealed. But I think your answer to that question is indicative of what's important to you in life. And if being the provider, being the husband, being the father is more important, then do I continue to lead with my money and provide in this way, or do I provide in a different way? Do I have a conversation? What do I do? But I have to diligently seek out the answer, because that reality sits in for a lot of men, because everybody don't go through the same thing, right? For a lot of men, this reality sits in. Like, hey, yes, I understand all of these, but hey, nobody's going to come save us sometimes. So you have to do the work to figure out how we can change the temperature of this relationship, because bam, now I could run into a brick wall because I've gotten everybody used to me being a provider first, because that's all I brought. But now who am I after I provide less? Because is that going to be the answer? Am I going to sacrifice money for time? So that this way I feel like if I'm getting that more time, maybe that's why I feel abandoned, because we're not spending quality time together. So she doesn't feel that connection to me. But that's all I got. I'm gonna digress because I can keep going, and I'm not gonna re-quote the entire episode. So thank you for this conversation, Unc. That's all I got.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for this conversation. Um, I'm reminded that you can't love the gift more than you love the giver. When you really stop and think about provision, um, if we're honest, you don't provide outside of that the thing that you care for, the thing that you love. And so when and I'm just saying we as men, when we provide for our household, we provide for our family. We make sure that they're well taken care of. Now, make no mistake about it, women provide as well. It's just a different type of provision. But I think for the most part, when you look at the provision, therefore I feel abandoned. That's where we start getting into some serious concerns, because my provisions should not necessarily be the reason why I feel loved. Whatever I use to provide, those are resources. If I am fulfilling the mantle in the house as the husband, as the father, I become a resource to the source for my family. That's really how it works. So now, through me, he gets to show up, and then they become the beneficiaries of that. Well, my presence is a mandate, it's not an option. I don't sacrifice them for the sake of, my corporate job or being really good serving somebody else. And those things have their place, but their place is not above my family. Their place is not above my wife. Their place is not above my kids. It's below them. So if I'm giving more time to it than I am to them, then who am I really in love with? See, that's the very difficult truth that we don't necessarily like to face. We don't want to be honest with ourselves. I've said before that we have created this illusion that we live in. And if you was on Coach's Corner, you heard me refer to it as the map. And so that map was either constructed by somebody who brought you up, or constructed by the culture or your experiences, or whatever the case may be. And you drape that map over reality, and then that becomes the lens of the life that you live through. And everybody who opposes that, there may not necessarily be a friend of you. They may be a friend of me or an enemy, whatever that looks like. because you're going to hold on to that map for dear life. Once you relinquish that and let it go and recognize what reality really is truly saying, that's why I was so adamant about the last question. How you feel about it might be a depiction of your map, not a depiction of reality. Even though provision is a mandate, the provisionary mandates do not supersede the provider. Don't love the gift more than the giver.
Sheesh. Um, both of them and very great final thoughts to complement all of their words from the show, and I appreciate that. My final thought is not going to be that long. You know, why providing everything feels like providing nothing to them. You know, I would just go back to just the word provision in general. You know, if anybody's out there and looking to get in, I'm just thinking about a relationship or something like that with someone. Like, I think it's important that both of y'all understand what provision looks like, and then kind of understand what you guys' role or place in all of that is going to be, and how that's going to push you forward in your relationship. So I think that learning about provision and having an understanding about it is very important. I know initially, when I was young, I had no idea really about what it meant and what it was for, or even probably even how to spell it at that time. I don't know, but it's a very important thing and a very important subject to know about, especially if you plan on having a family. And I think is equally important that both parties in the relationship understands a lot about it, so they can again help progress their relationship forward. But that's all I got. I don't have too much else to say. I have really enjoyed this podcast, enjoyed everybody who participated, who watched, who shared, who clicked the button, and all of those different things. So definitely appreciate y'all. Remember, come back here tomorrow at 10:30. Come back. You see, heard coach 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for another episode. Y'all got any more housekeeping items before we close this thing out?
Hey, I do have one thing. I do have one thing. Real quick, y'all, real quick. If you have not gotten your copy of Counting Sheep, Losing Souls, make sure that you scan it. We're going to be doing a book review on this book coming up real soon. I can't remember the exact date. Crystal's going to have to put it in the comment section. If she don't get a chance to put it in the comment section tonight, she'll put it in the comment section tomorrow morning. So again, if you have not gotten your copy of Counting Sheep, Losing Souls, get it so you can understand who Tyrone Bradley is.
Word up, Tyrone Bradley. All right, that's it, folks. We will see y'all tomorrow morning and on Tuesday for Coach's Corner, and Friday for another episode here, and Sunday on TikTok. So tap in, click the links, all of those good things to find out when all the new shows and all of that stuff coming up. There goes the book right there. He just popped it out. So now you know what it looked like. So if you ain't got to go get it. All right. That's it. Anything else? All right. We out. Peace.